Bah, je pense que c'est limite, quoi. Je suis limite un peu serré dedans, quoi. Donc, ce qui fait que, au lieu de pouvoir le mettre assez.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nonduality Live. Welcome, everyone. We have a back-to-back Nonduality starting with May for an hour. If you have any questions, you can ask a question by raising your hand, and you can also type a question on the chat box there. Welcome, May.
Thank you, Emerson. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for hosting this. Oh, shall I start?
Please go ahead.
Oh, okay.
We're actually streaming on Facebook.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. And so I will start with a short introduction, and then afterwards you are free to ask questions. So, seemingly, this message is about liberation, which sounds really very enticing and grandiose for any individual. But the liberation we are talking about here is not about being free, being liberated from the imprisonment, or being free from troubles, worries, or all kinds of so-called negative emotions. Basically, liberation or wholeness or freedom, whatever you want to call it, is the end of knowing or experiencing. And basically, the end of knowing or experiencing is the death for the seeker. Because the seeker has it has its own version of liberation. It thinks, it assumes somehow that liberation is something, some state which can be reached. It's the freedom it can experience, it can taste, or it can know. So this is totally the opposite. It is the end of knowing. But this, when I say this is the end of knowing or experiencing, it doesn't mean there was a beginning of knowing and then comes the end. Actually, this message says there is never a knower or experiencer who can be aware of or who can experience what is happening. And this kind of statement, like there is never a knower or there is never experiencer, this is not from knowing. This kind of statement sounds like a statement. This is not from knowing. It is not from any insight or any wisdom. Even this statement is from no one. No one knows this. No one knows this. There isn't any extra knower who can know to realize there is no knower. So all all there is just what seems to be happening. And in this happening, there is never a center who can experience or who can control what is happening. There's never a center. And out of what is happening, there is never a separate awareness, a separate consciousness or knower who can be aware of what is happening. So what is happening has no subject, no object. It is just that what is happening doesn't know itself. It doesn't know itself. It has no idea even what is happening. It is good or bad. And this message is also, what this message is pointing out is that this sense of individual, the sense of me being real, really existing, this sense is totally illusory. And this sense of existence is for the individual unquestionable. It is undoubtedly real. It's kind of reality. I am real. I really exist. This is the reality for the individual. And exactly this reality is totally illusory. And this cannot be known, that this is illusory cannot be known, cannot be realized. And that is a paradox. And it is the freedom itself already. What is happening is always direct, undivided, unfiltered, already free, just being itself. And this freedom is for no one. No one can own this freedom, can experience this freedom. What is happening just like now, having this Zoom meeting, listening and talking, understanding or not understanding, or getting frustrated, or getting resonating with what is being talking, is all what is seemingly happening. It doesn't mean anything, and that is freedom itself. So this is the introduction.
Thank you so much, May. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand. You can also ask a question via chat. If you're on YouTube or on Facebook, you can type the question and I can also read it for you. There's a question here from YouTube. Just a moment here. What is resonating here and where's resonance coming from?
What is resonating here? Where is it from? It isn't from anywhere. It is not from any center. It is what is apparently appearing, resonating, or not at all resonating. It happens to no one. It doesn't mean something, it doesn't have any more value than when there is no resonance at all. what might be happening, resonating. It's just like anything else which is which seems to be happening, seems to be happening, just as anything else.
Here's another question here. Why does the me come back after an apparent glimpse?
Why? Why there's this it seems in the story this sense of me being here, existing, it seems to come back. It is also what happens. But even in this sense of me coming back, there is no center in it. No one really having this sense of this is happening. It is just, it happens apparently for no reason. And it doesn't happen to anyone. But when there is this me sense, it always feels it happens to me. My me is back. It's nobody's me.
There's a question here from Hoet. Hi, Emerson. Could you ask me what is meant by knowing here? Is experiencing the same as knowing?
What is experiencing? Can you repeat it?
Is experiencing the same as knowing?
The experiencing is the same as experiencer. This experiencing or knowing is totally illusory. Nobody is experiencing anything. There is no experiencing of there is no one or there is someone. This is illusory. Someone is experiencing. Even this statement sounds like this apparent statement of this me, this experiencer is illusory. Even this is unknowable. Nobody knows this. Nobody has this insight or wisdom of, oh, there is no me. No one can know this. There is no me.
Thank you. There's a question here from Facebook from Philip. Why is this important in our daily life and moment-to-moment experience of life?
Why is it important in the daily life? There's
and moment-to-moment experience of life.
It is important only for the me. Only for the me. When there is this sense of me always has some goal to reach. It needs meaning of life. And then this, it has to have all this significance of life. And one of those things is moment to moment. There is no moment. Me lives in the story of timeline. So there are moments. Life is made up of moments. And then comes the end for the me.
Question here from L. L goes, so the me, in quotes, has nothing to do with nothingness. If so, I don't understand how there can be openness or the effect of seeing a possibility, nor how there can be a recognition that contradicts each other. There seems to be a kind of link between the person and nothingness. There's always a kind of mystery involved. That's a long question.
That's very long, yes. There is never any connection between me and nothingness, because me is, this sense of me is what seems to arise, but to no one, but to nobody. It has nothing, me has never any relationship to anything what is happening. Never. And that is the beginning of the question. The rest I'm lost with the long question.
I'll read it again. That contradicts each. Okay, I'll read the whole thing. So the me has nothing to do with nothingness. If so, I don't understand how there can be openness or the effect of seeing a possibility, nor how there can be a recognition that contradicts each other. There seems to be a kind of a link between the person and nothingness. There's always a kind of mystery involved.
The openness is also what apparently can happen. It also has nothing to do with me being open. It has nothing to do at all. Me can never do the opening to keep it open or closed. Me is totally out of the out of the game. and there's another. It says there's kind of a link between the glimpse and, you know, the glimpse. If glimpse is also it can happen, but it's also happening to no one. Me has never any influence on whatever is happening. Never, ever.
Beautiful. Thank you. There's a question here from YouTube. This one is from Sam. If this doesn't bring an end to negative emotions, why would anyone want to seek this?
Actually, what me wants is to get rid of the miseries of life, you know, to get rid of the miseries, to have a happy or happier life. That is all what me wants. And to have a happy life, and the idea will be a lasting happy life, a lasting happiness. Of course, then it wants to get rid of all those negative emotions. That is me's wish. And me, like I said at the beginning, me has its own version of liberation, which means to be free from all these negative emotions, just be happy, you know, not being bothered. That is what me's wish. And then it's seeking for this. It's thought, and me assumes that liberation would bring this, all this goodness, all the goodness me wish. But like I said, liberation is the end of experiencing, even the end of experiencing anything, experiencing happiness or, you know, sadness, whatever. That's the end of all this experiencing. So in that sense, it's totally scary and not at all enticing for the seeker of happiness. It's terrible. It's a terror. For the me. The good news is there is no me. That's good news.
There's a question here. So May used to listen to Andreas, and Andreas used to listen to Tony. So there seems to be a pattern or a path. What happened to May?
In the story of May, yes, I liked the message of Tony's message, and I got hooked up with this order is what apparently happening. I totally got hooked up. I didn't understand that word, but it was so striking, and I was just I was hooked. And then somehow it happened that way. I listened to Andreas' meeting because of COVID, the online meeting a lot. And yeah, that is what happened. I liked this. I loved this message. And there was this loving for this message. There's no real reason why, just this message just somehow hooked this figure, this character.
Another question here. This is from Facebook. Can you talk about why what is not being talked about not everything is consciousness, awareness, being aware. What's the difference? I'll repeat. Can you talk about why what is not being talked about is not everything, or consciousness or awareness, being aware? What's the difference? Sorry, I'm just reading the question.
I'm not totally getting the question. The why is not talked about what? The consciousness?
Can you talk about why is not being talked about? Not everything is consciousness or awareness, being aware. Okay, I get it now. Why is this communications basically not everything is consciousness or awareness, being aware? What's the difference? I got it.
Oh, yeah. Why is that everything is consciousness? Everything is consciousness. Being conscious of something, it involves subject and object. It means out of everything, there is a separate awareness or consciousness, you can call it, to be aware of it. So it is subject object. And this everything is consciousness. That was a kind of one of those, I think, one of those consciousness teachings. I knew it was, to be aware of things, because this kind of awareness in that teaching that is the one which is not moving. All the other things, the emotions, thoughts, they are coming and going, but this awareness is kind of not moving. It is there, and everything being is awareness. This awareness is, there is no awareness. There is just everything, but because there is no awareness, so there is no one knows there is everything. Everything is at the same time no thing, and no one knows it. There is no, it cannot be divided. It is undividable. Everything is unknowable because there is no separate awareness to be aware of everything or anything.
Epic. There's a question here. Emerson, can you ask me about her history of seeking, and can you ask her to expand and take your time?
the history of seeking, yeah, I mean, that is not it's not really relevant. I mean, this story, it's really not relevant. I was for some years seeking, very devoted, seeking for enlightenment, because I have this version, I have this idea of how enlightenment, freedom is, how it should look like. That is just be happy and be kind of blissed out and be free from all the troubles, worries, and be loving and kind and not getting frustrated. I have all these conditions for the enlightenment, for the liberation. And then I thought it could be, if I work hard enough, to be devoted enough, I might be there, to get there someday. And then it turned out it was totally exhausting, and just more miseries, just getting more and more misery. So this seeking somehow stopped by itself because it was so exhausting. And there was such a strong sense of failure. I would never get it. I would never get it. And this message, when I heard, like I heard this Tony's word, all there is what apparently happening. That is like somehow it was mind-blowing and so liberating at the same time. I don't really have so much to say about the history. I mean, it's doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Yes, the seeker, the May as a seeker, is just a story. It's not real. Seeking apparently was happening. actually was happening to no one. It wasn't happening to May. And then later, May became someone, you know, who reached somewhere. No. This May is totally illusory. There wasn't a May who was a seeker and now become someone else who got it. No. Nothing happened. Nothing has happened.
Question here from L. Why do they call it unconditional love?
Unconditional love is what is happening. And this is a love without subject and object. It is whatever is happening. It has no idea of what is happening. It doesn't know itself. It doesn't know itself. So that's why it is also said it is happening and also nothing happens because there is no subject. And what is happening has also no object. It's not happening to anyone. And what is happening is totally unconditional. It can be happy at this moment, can be totally frustrated. It has no goal. It has no goal. It has no purpose to get somewhere. So in that sense, it's totally unconditional. And that is, sometimes we call it love, but this is a love for no one. It has no object. It is not a love to get from someone to give to someone.
Thank you so much. This question is from Benjamin Berry. Hi, May Long. Love how you express this. My question, if you could say something to May Long when she was a seeker, what would you say?
Oh. There isn't anyone here who is able to say something to this May Long. And nothing I can say. Sorry, I have nothing to say to this.
Question here from Anita. Anita, did you want to ask a question yourself? I'll read it. Sometimes I can see it's just what is happening, and sometimes there is a feeling of missing my ex. Can May say something about this?
Sometimes there is feeling of missing
my ex.
My ex. Oh,
like ex-partner. Yeah.
Oh, okay. This sounds like this is some personal experience because, like I said, what is happening, all there is what seems to be happening. And there is no separate knower who can know this. All there is what seems to be happening. And this knower, this experiencer of, or someone out of it, seems someone out of what is happening, to see what is happening. This outsider, this knower, this separate knower is the illusion itself. It doesn't exist. And missing the ex, or missing the family, or missing, you know, someone, if someone passed away, the missing can arise, sadness can arise. That is just what happens, but it not happening to anyone. So actually no one can see, no one can know what is happening. It is just blindly what is happening. And what is happening knows nothing about itself because it cannot be divided. So no one also can know what is real, what is unreal, because there's simply no knower.
This one is from Nico. Do not think that the consciousness is the light, please. The darkness is so dark that it is thought to be the light. The only light is the Jesus Christ who died for you. He is coming into the consciousness. Do you want to comment on that?
Can you repeat it?
Yeah, for sure. Do not think that the consciousness is the light, please. The darkness is so dark that it is thought to be the light. The only light is the Jesus Christ who died for you. He's coming into the conscious.
The darkness and lightness, to know there's the difference. There is a difference between darkness and light. You need someone to know it, which is separate from darkness or light. So this knower exactly is the illusion. Darkness is this apparent darkness is what seems to be. And darkness itself has no idea it is dark. And there's also no idea of what is lightness.
Kane wants to
Darkness
ask.
is also,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Darkness itself has no desire to get rid of itself. It is just what is. Only something separate from the darkness. You know, it has a preference. Oh, this darkness, it should be get rid of. And this part is illusion.
There's a question from Jane. Jane, go ahead, please, and unmute yourself.
Oh, hi, Meil. This is Jane.
Hello.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
I have a first question is, can I say experiencing is apparently happening? Is this a correct statement? Even though experiencing is an illusion.
Experiencing never really happens.
It's apparent happens, though.
It is not even apparent happening. It is not a happening, experiencing. Experiencing is the same as experiencer. It is
Right.
just illusion.
But apparently it's happening, though. I understand it's an illusion not happen.
For this sense of individual, what is the individual is experiencing what is happening, and it is real. So by trying to interpret it as this apparently happening doesn't make any sense still.
Okay, that's from the personal point of view.
Yes.
Okay.
Experientially, it is experiencing sense, the individual.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I have another question. I know you're talking about the past. You mentioned there's no past, right? No. But apparently, from your story, you have following Muji for a couple of years, and I understand Muji's method is start from awareness of awareness, and then actually Muji also after the practice of this, then there's a collapse of the awareness. So my feeling is like, even though you are not collapse yourself at the Muji, but then you were like the final stage actually you happens when you following Tony and Andreas. So it seems to me there's still a practice or a way we can follow to achieve. Can you comment something on this? Thank you.
In the story, yes, when I was following this awareness teaching, what for me was very clear was it was exhausting. It was absolutely exhausting, and I was so like I said, just more and more miserable. That was basically so it just couldn't carry on. Just couldn't carry on anymore, and that was the practicing was doing very, very wholeheartedly practicing this awareness, being, to abide with awareness. But that was so, yeah. And then in the story, yes, later I listened to Tony Andrea's message, this non-dual message. What was very clear, very, very obvious. It's any practicing is not will not bring you any closer to the wholeness, which is already unconditionally everything, being exactly as it is. No practicing is needed. To practice, you need to go. You want to get somewhere. There's condition. This is totally unconditionally free for nobody.
So from your experience, the awareness of awareness practice is not helpful. Even though some of the Muji students, they did also reach
nothing is helpful. Nothing is helpful.
Okay.
To be helpful, you need to get somewhere.
Right. But the thing is, yes. But the thing is, some of the Muji students, they can also reach to where you are now.
I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, I have no comment. But to get, there's nowhere to get. Anywhere is wherever you are, it is wholeness already. Where can you get?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can get out of this. Nobody can get closer. There isn't anyone who can do anything to get closer or get out of. There is never anyone in the wholeness. There is no one. It is just whole and complete.
Sure. Okay.
And
that's
it
my
cannot
question.
be known. Yeah. It cannot be known. It's not a state you can, get there through practice.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a question here from Kane. Hi, May. Who do you resonate with the most?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like I said, I like Andrea's meeting. I like Tony's meeting. That's I listened the most. And I think every speaker has its own personal. It has its own taste. It has its own taste. It's just kind of preference. Like you go to restaurants, you have some certain dishes you prefer. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. What I resonate most with doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. It has no value or no extra importance or significance.
There's a question here from George Nathan from Facebook. Is there an easy way to become enlightened and free?
There isn't any way easy, neither easy or nor difficult. There isn't any way. All there is only wholeness. There's no way to get it because all there is it. It is impossible to even get out of it. There is no way. It's not something is too difficult, impossible to get there. Everything is it. Everything is it already. Just by being exactly it is.
Lepine, please go ahead.
Hi, Emerson. Hi, May. I'm so happy to be here with you. When you talk about unknowing, and there's no one, my question is, the speakers, like example, now you're speaking, does it mean that I know there's no one, but it's a funny question. I mean, it means that what comes out of your mouth, the voice, or it's not known. It's not known.
No, absolutely. Like I said in my introduction, this what has been said, been shared, is not from any knowledge, not from wisdom, not from clarity, is not from me.
Yeah,
No.
Because when we hear this, like the me,
Yes.
it's like unconceivable.
Absolutely.
It really is unconceivable.
It's totally incomprehensible. Because I do not know this. There is no me. It is impossible to know it.
So you, I mean, there's talking, and you don't know it. I mean, I know there's no you, but I mean, May doesn't know it.
There is no May who can know it. This meeting happens, this talking happens, and listening happens, having dialogue happens. It happens by itself. No one is controlling what is happening. What happens doesn't know itself. It has no idea. It has no idea. Oh, this is what's happening. Oh, this is real. This is unreal. It's no way to know it.
Okay, so that's why the example you say it's unknowable.
Unknowable.
So we will never know. I'm running after something I will never know. Oh, God. Oh, thank you very much. Sorry, I heard this so much time, there's no one, but I don't know. Okay.
There is no knowing of even. There is even no knowing of. There is no one.
God. It's incredible. So when I'm just, well, not me, but there's just like walking, talking,
yes,
whatever appears, whatever happens,
emotions. Yes,
and that's all. That's it.
And there is no knowing of. That's it. This is somehow indescribable. Paradoxically, it is the joy of no knowing.
But a joy for no one.
No one has this joy. No one experiences this joy.
Okay,
that is the joy.
Yes, but when you say there's a joy, like, would you mean that this joy is in the body? Is it felt in the body?
No, there is even no knowing.
Okay.
Actually, nothing is knowable. And that is, in a way, so stunning, but for no one.
So every time we're in our head imagining whatever we're imagining, everything is an illusion. I mean, what's going on in the story, any kind of story, like in my whole
In the
life, the
story.
past, the future, I imagine. There's nothing of that.
The story in what happens in the so-called life, in the story of life, is what apparently happens. It's not everything is illusion. It's only this. I am real. This is illusion.
Okay. Okay.
Illusion, yes, means it doesn't exist. Then the whole life story collapses.
You know, there's a like it seems here now, well, I know there's not, well, I don't know, there's not now, but it seems that there's a like a process. It seems now I just like got that I will never know anything about that.
Of course. You are not there.
So why do I search?
The searching might still happen. It's not you are doing the searching.
Yeah.
It's not, you cannot even control it. Search or not.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That is the freedom. It happens. Apparently.
Oh, thank you so much, May.
Thank you.
It was a delight to talk to you, and your smile and your laugh. It's
the same.
Really joyful.
Thank you. The same.
Question here from YouTube. Does suffering become less when there is liberation? That's from Sam.
Become less when there is liberation?
Yes, does suffering become less when there is liberation?
The suffering, you know, the sense of suffering takes me to have this sense of suffering. And when it is seen, or, you know, when this me illusion collapses, apparently, then the sense of suffering is gone, because it is not real. The suffering is a dream. But the me has this strong sense of ownership. You know, this is happening to me. All this terrible bad things in life, it happens to me. It owns this suffering. The suffering is not real. So it gets less, or it gets even intensified. It has no difference. It's just the same. It is empty. No one is even in this suffering.
Question here from Facebook. What's the difference between Muji and Tony Parsons?
There is no real difference. Muji doesn't exist as much as Tony Parsons. There's just apparent differences, you know, apparent different characters. There's no real difference. Who can know there is difference? It's just apparent, you know, personalities, the way they speak or whatever. But what has been talked by Muji or by Tony, basically there's no difference. Also, what has been talked here, what has been, you know, this message, it has no difference with what birds or dogs are, you know, it has no real difference. It's all, in a way, the wholeness itself speaking. One cannot make it more whole than another.
John added, what is the difference between the teachings of Muji or the message of Tony Parsons? He wanted to add that.
The teaching is there isn't anyone here to know this difference. The teaching cannot get like teaching, any teaching cannot get, get someone who doesn't exist to get the wholeness, to reach the wholeness. And to teach someone, it involves two also. There's a teacher and a student. And Tony's message is revealing this illusory of the me, and no one needs to be taught. And there isn't anyone, because there isn't anyone. There's no teacher also.
Anita, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, May.
Hey, hello. Hi, Anita.
So there is no one, and so there is also no difference between you and me.
Only apparent. We look different. I am apparently a Chinese. I have a Chinese
Yeah, that's really
only apparent difference. Only apparent difference. But there isn't, there isn't no real difference. Okay, no amount of apparent differences can make real difference.
Because there is no thing.
There is no thing. There isn't anything in this May, and the same to you.
Mm-hmm.
It just it appears differently.
Yeah.
It appears differently, but it has no meaning at all.
Yeah.
And what any appearance, is blindly itself. It cannot know itself. It's already naturally equally empty. There's nothing, no substance in this body here, and the same, there's nothing in that body. Some real center, real substance, which exists.
Then it's clear. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Question here from Facebook from Philip 5. So who are we?
Who are we? It cannot be answered. There is no we. There isn't no we. This who are we is the same like who am I. There isn't no I who can be anything. There is never this me or we, us.
This one is from YouTube. So if there's no one, life doesn't have a purpose then?
If there is no one, is the question. If there is no one, there is, it asks, if there is no one, there is no one. The purpose and meaning of life is all based upon there is someone. And then comes this purpose of life and the meaning of life and all this stuff coming together. But this life, meaning of life is it's the same, it's in the same dream of this is me, and then there's my life. Of course, then it's there's me, there's my life, there is a destiny. all this meaning and purpose and all it's a one package. There is even no life. There is only what is seemingly happening. And no one knows what is happening. There's no experiencer.
Question here from Dennis. Is the soul just a concept or part of the story of me?
Is the thought of
the soul just a concept or a part of the story of me?
Oh, the soul.
The soul, yes.
Yeah. It can be said like the soul is like extension of me. It's like it's like a deeper sense of existence. Then the me gives it a name like this kind of, the real me, the deepest sense of me. In a way, it is an extension of me. And because, this, for the me, that is terrible. The death is terrible because that means the end of everything, end of experiencing. This is basically death for the me. And then somehow this me wants to continue. The body might just, finished at the body functioning. So the body is dead. And then somehow there is a soul, there's a deeper sense. And this is like, this can continue. So in a way, me somehow makes it up. So the soul continues. It takes another body. So me is still existing. There is no soul. But somehow it is a kind of comfort for the me. There is a soul. So the soul of me can still continue. It survives even after the death of body.
Great answer, Dennis says. There's a question here from Jade. May I ask if I fell asleep while listening to your video? Is there still listening? Who is listening?
No one is listening. No one is even making this conscious choice to join, to come to this meeting. And it can happen, just fall asleep during the meeting. It happens apparently a lot. When I was doing the Chinese meeting, also quite some people say they fall asleep. And that is what happens is not happening to you. What falling asleep just happens to no one. And listening also, no one is listening.
There's more question from Jade here. Why can I not keep listening to Muji? I've listened to Muji for a few months and then I bumped into Tony's and I couldn't go back to Muji. There's a sense about what and who to listen to in my case. It feels weird. I was cooking earlier and I keep thinking I don't know what I'm doing. My mind gone blank, but the body still moved about doing all the cooking. That I have no clue what about. That was a series of questions from Jade. Sorry.
What is the why? Yeah, why you like someone, why you don't like someone? It is what appears. There is no real reason for it. Why you feel resonated with some message and with some others not. That is just what happens. It happens blindly. There is no reason. There is never reason. Nothing is caused.
Well, thank you so much, May. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. May has a website. It has a wonderful website title. What's it called again, May?
Unconditional Wholeness.
Unconditionalwholeness.com. And if you want to reach me, she has a YouTube channel as well.
Just opened. I'm very clumsy with all this
Call me, message me, May. I know you did actually. We have upcoming Neil Denham. Neil, are you there? I think Neil is somewhere here.
Thank you so much, Emerson.
Oh,
Thanks,
thank you so much. Everyone
who
say bye,
joined.
May.
Was a joy. Yes, bye.
Thank you, May.
Yeah,
Thank you, May.
Thank you, May.
Thank you, May.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, May.
Yes, thank you.
Just stay there. We're going to have Neil Denham in about a minute.
Oh, wait, how do I?
Oh, it's still May. Just a second. Okay. Neil, are you there?
Yeah, hi. Hi, Emerson, can you hear me?
Yes.
You can?
There you are. Okay.
Yep, here I am. Is it clear?
Yes.
You're okay.
Welcome everyone to Neil Denham. If you have any questions, you can ask a question, the same thing that you've been doing. You can ask a question via YouTube, Facebook, or ask here on Zoom. You can raise your hand or also type a question on the chat box. Take it away, Neil.
Thank you, Emerson. I was just listening to May, so basically what she said. Well, apparently this is a meeting about nothing being everything, or nothing appearing as everything. But there's nothing in that or in this which knows that or is having an experience with that. So it's just what apparently happens. So in that sense, it's already naturally whole, just as it is, which means nothing needs to change about this. Nothing needs to happen for this to be what is already. What is already cannot possibly become any more what is already or any less what is already. So what is already, although we can use words like that and there can sort of be a talking about that in a way or a pointing to that in a way. We can never get any closer to that with what's happening here, with this speaking. So there's no teaching, there's nothing to be taught, there's nothing that needs to be learned for what is already to be what is already. And that's what's revealed in the end, or seemingly revealed in the end for no one, is that what's longed for has always been what is already. It never goes anywhere, it never changes, it never becomes something else. It never even becomes a someone who is separate from what is already. Even the experience of there being a someone in this what is what is already appearing as that someone. And that's perfectly whole and complete, just as that is. So this experience to be someone is what we might call the dreamt reality, or it's a dreamt experience. The experience for the experiencer is one and the same thing. The experiencer cannot know anything outside of the experience of itself, which is why when it hears this message, it doesn't get it. It's not heard by the experiencer that's looking for another experience, because to that experience or to that knowing, what is already is somewhere else. So that means it needs to be found. It needs to be looked for. It needs to be found. The experiencer or the knower needs to come to meetings like this and listen to speakers to try and find out what it thinks this knows about what is already, that can tell you about that so that you'll get it and you'll see it too. And that's the surprise. No one ever sees it. No one needs to see it. It's already this. So in that sense, there is no one to die. Nothing dies. Nothing becomes something else. There is no actual liberation. There is no actual enlightenment, because there is already no one to become enlightened. There is already no one to become liberated. So I think that's enough of that. If anyone would like to ask a question, then do raise your hand, or I think Emerson's reading out questions from YouTube and so on.
Yeah, there's a question here from Sam.
Ready?
Is only the sense of me illusory, or the whole of manifestation is illusory?
It's the me and the illusion are the same thing. So there actually isn't even a me to be the illusion. So it's not like there is a me as an illusion and then the illusion falls away. It actually turns out that the illusion is that there is a me to be the illusion. I know it can kind of sound a little bit sort of paradoxical in the way that the message comes across, and I think that's just kind of unavoidable in a way, to sort of speak about a me and the me falling away, and then there is just what is, or there is just then the natural reality. And it seems to be unavoidable in a way, but that the illusion really is that there is an illusion to be seen through or to end. An illusion is something that isn't actually real, it isn't actually happening, but something that seems to create a false or misleading impression of reality, but it's not the actual reality. So because it's not the actual reality, then it can't come to an end. An illusion never begins, it never starts. The me's never born, so in that sense, there isn't a me to die. And you could say that what can, I was going to say happen, but what can be revealed, for want of a better word or a better way to put it, is that is already the case, that there is no illusion and therefore nothing needs to happen. And that's a shock. Because for many of us, I was listening to the meeting before, there's years and years and years of seeking to try and find something to add to this that's going to make it into something else, because this isn't enough. That's it. That seems to be the experience for the experiencer, or the illusion for that illusion to be someone, is that this is missing something. That sense that this is missing something seems to be there with the sense that I am here and I am separate. It's a kind of a felt sense to be separate in a way. It's kind of embodied in a way. I'm not sure if that answered the question.
There's a question here from Lex. Seeking people sometimes have a difficult time before the me falls away. It looks like there must be a kind of link between the difficult time and the falling away of the me. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I just said, really, it is already that there is no me to fall away. But yeah, I agree. I hear what you're saying. The seeking can seem to be painful. Definitely. I mean, I used to listen to speakers and sit there and thinking, yeah, well, it's all right for you. But that was because I was sure something needed to happen, that there was something happening to the speaker, or something had happened in the speaker, even if that is an unhappening or a falling away, that hadn't happened here. And that just simply wasn't the case. And that's the surprise in the end. Nothing has happened here that isn't happening there. It's just that there may be the illusion or the experience that something needs to happen.
Question here from Facebook. Can you ask Neil about his history of seeking?
Yeah, I mean, you can if you like. Yeah, I wasn't a great seeker, really. I would get very sort of very into something new for a short period of time, and then I would get sort of bored of it and move on to the next thing. I was always next. Such is the nature of seeking. What's next? What's next? What's next? So I never really settled on anything as such. And I was still seeking when this was heard, so to speak, when this message was heard. So I was still in the middle of seeking when I died. So it was inconvenient. I never got to where I thought I was going. I never had the opportunity to. It was a total shock.
Question here from Michael. Isn't reality just another idea?
Just another idea? Well, there is no reality. There's no real reality. There isn't a one reality to become the next reality. There isn't a real artificial reality that's hiding the natural reality as such. It's just what apparently happens, which is neither real nor is it unreal.
Question here from Facebook. Is life not happening to Neil anymore?
Well, there's no Neil for life to happen to.
Question here from YouTube. There's a lot of talk about right now about a denial or spiritual bypassing in radical non-duality. Can you please talk about that?
Yeah, well, who would be bypassing? What would be being bypassed? I mean, my seeking experiences with a lot of teachings were there was some of that, totally, or that was noticed. That was kind of noticed in some teachings, because there are a lot of spiritual teachings, I think, that talk about detachment and becoming detached, and that's how you deal with, I don't know, emotions. In that you become detached from them, you know yourself as the observer of the emotion, not the emotion, and that's a becoming detached. And that's totally not what's being talked about here. It's not about becoming detached from life in any way, or any kind of acceptance, or, oh, well, it's just what is already. It's just that there is literally no one in it to be detached or to bypass or to be accepting. There's just what appears, what apparently happens, apparently.
Question here from Lex. You once said that, and so do others like Tony, the me can't hear this message, but eventually on another deeper level, something else can. That sounds like a something that can hear. Can you tell something about this?
Yeah. Well, the me never hears this because it's always looking for what's next. Me is hope for something else. So it will never hear that what's longed for is what is already. It just can't hear it. It's always in that what's next, what's next, what's next, what's next, never what is. So yeah, when it's said that this can be heard on some level, it's not heard by the me or by the individual or by the seeker. Just absolutely just not heard at all. The mind just can't roll with it. So yeah, if it's heard, it's something else that hears in a way. But of course, that is just a story, because there is no me in the first place to be able to hear this or to not hear this. But for that experience, because I understand that there is an experience, for that experience, what's being pointed to here is just an absolute impossibility. So if there is a hearing or a resonating, sorry, Emerson, if there is a hearing, or some people may call it resonating with this, then it's not the me that's resonating with it. And I have said in the past something like it's home resonating with the sense of itself. It's just home resonating.
Jade, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, Neil.
Hello.
Hello, Emma-san.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I have this problem with mental chatter, but I just feel very irritated by the thought keeps coming in with stories, and I know there's no one to do something about it or not to do something about it, but I keep feeling annoyed by thoughts and the stories in the head. It is not really there. I try to ignore it, but it just really bothered me, and I would love some advice how to deal with it. Thank you.
Well, what's from what you're saying, what seems to be happening there is there's the sense to be someone who is having an experience of their thoughts or listening to their thinking. And as long as it seems to be that sense to be someone or something listening to those thoughts or thinking, then yes, thoughts and thinking do seem to be the problem. In the end, actually, it's just thoughts just don't do anything. They don't actually create anything. They just sort of report. It's just a report on what apparently happens, the thoughts. They don't have any power to create. They don't have any power to destroy. They don't have any power to convince anyone of anything. They just report on what apparently happens. So if there is a sense to be someone, then there will be thoughts reporting on that appearance to be someone. And that's what the me kind of wants to be free of. I say kind of because it doesn't know what that means. It doesn't know what the end of itself means. But ultimately, that's what's longed for. It's not what the me wants, it's what's longed for.
Yeah, but is the reporting an illusion?
No, the illusion is that the reporting is happening to someone.
Okay, so the reporting is appearance, like happening, appearance.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, thoughts apparently happening. Yeah.
And thoughts happening. And what is the illusion?
The illusion is that thoughts are happening to someone.
Okay, so the sense of being irritated is also happening.
That's also what's apparently happening. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But in the end, when there is no longer the sense to be someone who is listening to their thoughts, it just doesn't matter. Thoughts just don't matter. They're literally just like the headlines. Like the news.
I'm very clear about. Yeah, I'm quite clear about what you just said about what's happening and what's the illusion, but I still feel like being somebody.
I know, yeah. Which is why we talk about both things, because or in a way, or there can be in these meetings a describing of that illusion, because from within that illusion, it seems to be absolutely real.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
There's a question here from Carissa. Carissa, hi, Neil. A realization occurred recently that the watching is also just what's happening. The witnessing is an instant happening. Is that fair to say?
Well, yes, if that's what's happening there, then that's what's happening there. Yeah, that's fine. Here, there is no sense to be anything watching.
Did you want to add to that, Carissa? I know, Carissa, did you want to?
There is no witness. Really, the me and the witness are kind of the same thing.
Hi.
Awareness, and that's what apparently falls away energetically, is this self-awareness.
So the sense of witnessing can fall away.
Apparently, yeah. The sense to be the one who witnesses, yes, absolutely, yeah, seems to, yeah. but that's not a person, as it turns out.
It's not a right, right.
It's not
Because
an individual. It's not a person. It's just it's a tension which has the experience to be self-aware, and all it's really aware of is itself, being there, apparently observing, apparently witnessing. That's the dream, so to speak.
okay. All right. Thank you, Neil.
Okay.
Question here from Mike. Does more carelessness arise when the me falls away, like not checking things properly?
No, because there's just no one to be careful or careless, really. And there's really no one having to have an experience of careful or careless. Yeah. Caring, caring can apparently happen. But yes, yeah. Yeah. Who would notice being more careless?
Question here from Oyvind. Completely exhausted, this message is so sweet, like a friend you can hear breathing while just sitting with you.
Lovely. Yeah.
This one is from YouTube, from Aishan. Can you say something about anxiety and fear being experienced in this body?
Yeah. Well, anxiety and fear just seems to happen. Yeah. There's nothing really to be said about that, other than if there is the sense to be someone, then it will be that anxiety and fear is happening to that person. And then what seems to come out of that in the dream is that the person then needs to do something to manage the anxiety and the fear and so on and so forth, which seems to add extra anxiety and extra fear to the anxiety and fear as to whatever's going on.
There's a question here from Daria. Daria, did you want to ask that question yourself? I'll read it. Hi, Neil. Can this message have an influence on the apparent life happening?
No, because the message is there is no life happening. Not to someone who would be able to have an influence over that life or not. There's just life apparently happening.
This one is from Facebook. Can the idea or a concept of a no me or a dropping away of a me be an understanding?
Apparently it can, yeah, but that's not what we're talking about here. Yes, apparently, yeah. I think there's there can be me's walking around believing that they are no me, or not believing in themselves, or who have just lost the belief in themselves. No, that's not what we're talking about here. What's being suggested here is there is already no me, and that the energetic sense to be someone, to be present, to be aware, can apparently fall away.
Question here from Mike. When did the me fall away for Neil?
Well, it apparently fell away about 2 years ago. But of course, there was no me to fall away in the end. There was seeking up until about 2 years ago. And then energetically, that whole experience, the whole sense to be seeking, just suddenly fell away energetically. And then what's obvious in that is that there is no me to be seeking, and there is nothing else to be found, because this is already everything.
Carissa, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi. Sometimes when the eyes are closed, there appears to be like a visual phenomena, not even just maybe in the dark. Does that ever happen for you over there?
Well, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I can't think of anything like that.
Okay. All right. I asked because I practiced meditation and for a long time and really trying to open up the Ajna chakra and open up, the 6th and 7th chakra. And when I was younger in my teens, I would lay in bed and almost see like, colors, light moving around just in the dark here. And lately that's kind of returning apparently. And I just wondered if you had a similar experience, but I know the experience are you.
Well, I don't mind telling you about an apparent experience I once had. Years and years and years ago, after a weekend of very intense martial arts training, it was as though an energy suddenly just exploded up through my body and out through the top of the head. And it lasted for about 2 days. And that's got nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah, alrighty.
Because I was still there having or apparently having an experience with that.
Right.
In the story, of course.
Yes. It's so strange. Because all you can really do is tell a story about it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I would say if that's what's apparently happening, that's what's apparently happening. But what the me apparently does is it sort of looks for those sorts of things and for those sorts of experience, because that's actually what it wants. And the whole seeking journey seems to be about having more of those types of experiences, because the belief is that with more of those types of experiences, I'm getting closer to whatever it was the seeker was looking for, enlightenment, whatever the case may be, something better, closer, a higher self, something like that, closer, divine union with God, whatever belief was being held there at the time. But I'm afraid it's got nothing to do with what's being shared here. What's being shared here is all of those concepts and ideas just completely going. Absolutely, all of it, the whole journey, so to speak, goes with the recognition that there was never anyone journeying, that there just wasn't a journey. There was just what was apparently happening, then being claimed by the energetic sense to be someone, as this is happening to me, therefore it's a part of my journey, and it has nothing to do with anything. It was just an experience.
An experience. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next one is Jade. Go ahead, please.
Hello, Neil.
Hi.
I have this belief. I come from a non-religious background. I didn't know anything about this. I wasn't into Christianity or anything like that. But I believe that the idea of no one here is triggered by meeting someone. Is that something you know about?
Did you say there's someone here being checkered by there being no one?
But I am triggered by some
Triggered.
someone, and then triggered by someone, and then I coming into this non-dual awakening. Sorry, how to say, because I didn't know anything whatsoever about these nobody inside the body, no person, but this happening now, talking to you and listening to non-duality messages, it is happening after I met somebody.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was looking to see if you heard about similar happening elsewhere.
Well, yes. I mean, what you're describing to me really is the story, isn't it? Of, you know, I went here and then I did this and I met that person and then I came to this and now this is what I'm into and I'm not into that idea anymore. I'm into this idea. I mean, it just still sounds to me to be all just kind of a part of that illusion to be someone who's going somewhere and doing something and meeting this and meeting that and swapping one belief for another belief. That does just seem to be what happens in the seeking story.
So I know it's just a happening and it's not actually happening. There's no reality to the happening.
It's only apparently happening.
Yeah, I'm at this point confused, very confused with like what's happening.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. Well, but when there is a sense to be someone,
so
what happens seems to be absolutely real. This is real.
Yeah.
I am real. Therefore, this is real. There is real speaking happening to someone. And I know that because I am here experiencing that. And the suggestion from here is that's the dream.
Yeah. It is not a person in the body and the mind. No controlling center. It only happening to realize this. Where about a couple of years ago I had no any of these realization whatsoever. So
yeah, but there isn't really a couple of years ago either.
Surprised.
There isn't really a couple of years ago. There's only the memory of a couple of years ago appearing as this. So all that's being suggested is that this is all there is and that it's happening for no one.
Yeah, I totally get that. At one point, I repeatedly telling myself, there's not even 1 second ago. There's not even 1 second that belongs to me. But story just constantly.
It's not about knowing that. That's the thing. It's not about knowing that. The knower will automatically assume that what's being talked about is just another sort of knowing. This knows something that I don't know. And if I ask enough questions, then eventually maybe I will come to know what these meetings are about or what's being talked about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that will continue to happen for as long as that seems to continue to happen. What may happen is that Jade might die. And then there will be the obviousness that there was never a Jade to know what was happening already. It was a false claim as a part of that illusory experience.
Yeah. It was a second ago. It became quite clear that knowing what you are saying is illusion. Illusory. It's sort of it just is so quick. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Next one we have Jade. Jade, go ahead, please.
I think Jade just spoke, Emerson.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Sunny. Sunny.
Hi, Neil. Can you hear me?
Hi, Sunny. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, this is Sunny from mainland China, and it's midnight, very late. I just actually I have no questions for you because just now I just waken up by the alarm alert clock to join this meeting. So maybe I'm not totally awake. So just appearance happening. I just want to share with you. It's that for me, the me is an illusion. For me, it's just literally I understand before. But just now, what I experience is that me is not just only the body is not exist, but also no spirit or anything in me, not a soul in me. It's just a idea that comes. It's just an experience, just like a drip of water in the sea or something.
Yeah, but the experience seems to come out of that sense to be here, and then the whole sort of thing seems to come out of that.
Yeah, because
so
in
it's
the
not
daytime,
just so it's not just that the me, so to speak, is just an idea or a belief or something like that, because then it could just be stopped being believed in and there would be no me.
Yeah, because
or if it could just, like I was just saying a minute ago, it does seem to be there are some me's who have just don't believe in themselves anymore and talk about no me, because when they've done some self-inquiry and when they look for the me, they can't find it. So they take that as empirical evidence in a way, as a result of the inquiry, that there is no me, because they can't find it, they can't locate it. And that's not what we're talking about here. I mean, that's really just a bit of a game of hide and seek that the me will play with itself, doing things like self-inquiry. Well, if I go looking for myself, I don't seem to be able to find myself. Well, who's looking?
yeah, because I'm learning the Course of Miracle. I don't know if you even heard about it for many years.
I've heard of it. Yeah, it's very famous. Yeah.
Yeah, but always I stopped because it said that you want to be the fulfillment, you must let the ego go. When it comes, I just feel very I'm very afraid of that feeling. And
well, you don't need to be afraid of that, because there isn't a you to choose to let go of that or not.
Yeah. But in nowadays, I can understand. Me can't let the ego go. It can't be happen because
well, there isn't. It can't happen because there isn't a me to let go of the ego.
Yeah, I just so in the daytime,
so what's speaking to me now is completely empty. There's no one in there who has to get rid of their ego.
Yeah, because in the daytime, the me seems very real. There is my life, my children, my story, and it's just even if you heard about the message, you just think that I can literally understand it, but can't experience the feelings of the know me.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like I was saying, that feeling to be me goes looking for the feeling to be a me or a not me. The problem is that that is an illusory experience happening within an illusory experience to be a me, who has to go looking for the feeling to be me or to not be me.
So it's just the mission of impossible, right?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's nowhere to go.
So for me, if I heard this message, I feel some depression. So it's just okay for me to feel the expression. It's for me to find the no me is impossible, right?
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing right about it either.
So the feeling is also from me. That's the point.
What apparently happens when there is a sense to be someone is when a feeling comes up, the apparent me then experiences that feeling, and that seems to be what creates the problem with the feeling. The feeling isn't the problem. The problem apparently, the apparent problem, is that there is a me feeling the feeling and then feels responsible for it and then has to do something with that.
Oh, yeah. Then I understand. It's just happening. No business with me.
Yeah. So the me can't get out of itself. That's ultimately the problem. And it does seem like we were talking earlier that some me's, apparent me's, of course, can learn to sort of detach from feelings and emotions and thoughts and so on and so forth. But you know, for me,
So
that doesn't sound
so
like
it's
a
a
very,
big release of me.
Pardon me?
So it's a big release of me to not responsible for everything.
No. It's that there is no me to be responsible.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Neil. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
This one is from David. David asked, hey, hi Emerson, can you ask Neil a question about what I'm apparently experiencing, which has come about since I started listening to speakers on non-duality. And that is because I have become aware that this apparent life is a jumble of stories. I have no interest in creating any more stories and have become more antisocial, as I can't deal with listening to other people's stories, as it is totally meaningless. Is it just what's happening?
Well, there's only one story, and that's there is someone there to be in a story or not, or to be seeing life as a story or not. That's the story. The story is I am, full stop. It's the I am having the experience of itself as its story. The I and the story seeking, they are all the same thing. They're all the same energy. It never sees anything outside of itself. It can never know anything outside of itself. It can never experience anything outside of itself, because all it experiences itself is itself, as itself, being one way or another with whatever is apparently happening. And that's still the dream, that there is an experiencer as being the experience of itself to which life is happening. In the end, there is no one that life is happening to. There's just life apparently happening, or aliveness apparently happening. But there's no one in it. There's no one to know that. There's no one to experience that. It's just what apparently happens. So there are no others with their stories. There are no others to be the story of themselves, because that there is someone in the first place is a story.
This one is from Facebook. Can you ask about infinity, timelessness, and oneness? Are they belief systems?
Oh, well, I guess they can be for some people, yeah. Yeah, well, there is no one obviously knowing infinity or timelessness or spacelessness and so on. It's just what apparently happens. So I know sort of timeless is used in a way quite often in this sort of message or in this communication. And that's really because when there is a sense to be someone, it seems to create the sense of a position. As soon as there is a position, there is then something relative to something else, or there is just something relative. So once there is that sense to be someone or something here as being relative to something else, there then seems to be time and space in a way, but it's only apparent. And it becomes obvious that there is only apparent time and apparent space when that sense to have the position is no longer there. So in that sense, it's timeless, because there is no position within it. There's no edges to it, which is why it could be called the infinite in that sense. It's completely boundless, chaos, also completely without meaning, completely without direction or purpose. Again, because there is no position to be relative to the appearance. So it can't actually move. It can't go anywhere. Yeah. So we can all just chill out.
Epic. Dennis asked, is the Big Bang in the universe all just an illusion that appears with the I am?
Well, this is the Big Bang. This is Big Banging. This is no thing Big Banging. It didn't happen. When was it? Oh, I don't know. Was it 37 billion years ago? Billion years ago? The Big Bang, according to scientists. Even if you were a scientist looking through a telescope, I forget the name of the big telescope out in space now, and you were looking, because this is what scientists report, is that they can look through a telescope and they can actually see the Big Bang. They're looking across apparent space and apparent time and they can see the Big Bang happening. Guess what? That's still happening as this. The appearance of Big Bang is still happening in this.
This question is from YouTube, from Alpa Patel. Nothing happening to me, but same moment happening without distance. Is it like that?
Pardon me,
to repeat
nothing
that?
happening to me.
Nothing happening to me, but at the same moment happening without a distance. Is it like that?
Well, you are the apparent distance. There is no you, so therefore there is no apparent distance. So there is nothing to be relative as being distant. This is it. This is all there is. It's whole, singular, complete. Because there is nothing relative. There is no distance. The sense to be someone, the sense to be separate, is a result of that sense to be present, which then seems to create a distance from everything else, or from life, or from what appears. And that's the dream. That's what's being pointed out here as being the dream. That all there is wholeness, timeless, distanceless, spaceless, empty, but also that's its fullness.
This question is from Facebook. Does this mean that no one can get canceled because there's no one?
No one can get cancelled? Well, of course, there's no person being cancelled, no. If being cancelled is happening, being cancelled is happening. Hmm.
Question here from Zoom, from Dennis. Do animals have a sense of separate self or I am?
Well, apparently not. Apparently not. I could go into a story about it does just seem to be the human who has managed to sort of abstract this separate experience in a way. Yeah, but my sense is no, not in animals. Even in animals with apparent sentience, so to speak, like dolphins and so on. I mean, of course, there's no way to know that. There's no answer to that. But my sense is it just seems to be unique to human beings, the sense to be separate. And it's kind of reflected in our society. Yeah, okay, whales don't build houses and motorways and go to work and have jobs and so on and so forth, and websites and with dodgy things they can go and look at or whatever. That just seems to be uniquely human. So yes, that would suggest that then that is something uniquely about the human, the apparent human animal. Yeah. Mm.
Sarah asks, does the body get healthier as a result of having no more contraction in the body?
Not necessarily. No, mine hasn't.
Mello asks from YouTube, if there is no us, then what is alive, seeing, living, and human being?
Nothing. There is just seeing, aliveness, functioning. All of them.
Question from Hitesh. A body which doesn't recognize it as someone? I don't understand that question, Hitesh. If you want to join the Zoom, you can.
I think I know what's being asked. Yeah, I mean,
You asked,
well,
okay.
apparently the body can sense a someone, or actually it's more like a something, a presence, out of which the sense to be someone or the claiming that I am a someone seems to arise. It's a contraction, it's a tension, a contracted energy in the body. And that it seems to be that the experience to be someone, or the illusion to be someone, sort of, pardon me, sort of arises out of that energy. But that energy isn't a someone, because there is no one, and that energy isn't separate. It's just an apparent tension, an apparent contraction that the so-called me seems to arise with.
Mello asked from YouTube, how is this all happening and where did it come from?
It doesn't come from anywhere, and there is no how to it. It doesn't matter. That's what the me wants to know. How is it? Why is it? And it wants to know it so that it can, in some way or other, feel like it's in control of it.
This one is from...
The me doesn't, sorry,
Oh,
Emerson, just to add to that, the me doesn't like to feel out of control. And if you watch the news, you'll see that happening all over the world. Panic, because there are millions of me's at the moment feeling like they're not in control. And that's what so it wants to know what's happening. How is this? Why is this happening? So it'll feel safe, basically. It's insecure.
This one is from Zoom. I'll get to you, Carissa, after this question. Is the sense of wholeness or separation that falls away on magic mushrooms just another illusion that appears in a story of me?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Carissa, go ahead, please.
Oh, sorry, I didn't. Okay, I have kind of a weird question, and I don't know if you know anything about string theory. I don't.
No, I've heard of it.
I don't really either, but I guess they did an experiment where they particles behave differently after being observed, not by a human, but by like an instrument of observation. So I don't know. I was kind of wondering what your thoughts were about maybe this appearing to behave differently because of the appearance of an observer?
I wouldn't know is the answer to that. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter anyway.
It's a theory.
Right. Okay.
I mean, there can be, there might be an interest in stuff like that. I was talking about the telescope and the scientists, they can look through it and see the Big Bang. I was listening to Brian Cox talking about it. Fascinating stuff. It doesn't mean anything. So what?
I guess it's just fun.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
There's a question here from David. Hi, Emerson. Could you ask Neil if the contracted energy is present at the apparent birth, or if it is an energy that builds and contracts over a period of time?
The story goes is it arises in the body after the birth, so to speak. Yeah. So we're all born into absolute timelessness, absolute beingness, with no one being. And then that sort of tension arises in the body with the knowing, and the knowing is here. And it sort of seems to be known at the same time as there. They sort of arise simultaneously. The sense to be me, or the knowing of me, seems to arise with the seeing of a you in someone else, that, maybe the mother or the father, who knows. What's looking at this? What's looking at this? Oh, someone's looking at this. Well, that must mean I'm here. They keep looking at me. It's a knowing, but it arises with a sort of a tension in the body. And yes, it does seem that over apparent time that sense to be someone becomes more and more reinforced as it goes on, continuing to have the experience of itself, sort of moving through life. And then that sort of construct then seems to take on other ideas and beliefs about itself and tries to apply it to itself. This is in the story, of course, adds things to itself in order to become a more sort of knowledgeable or a more fulfilled me. But because it isn't there, it's never fulfilled. That just sort of seems to be that experience. And it's that whole thing, that whole kind of, that whole idea, beliefs, everything that seems to sort of come out of that initial sort of tension, that contraction, that whole thing comes just apparently, of course, comes down when there is no longer that tension, when that tension just suddenly falls away. And if that tension falls away, it can be sudden. It seemed to be sudden here. Yeah, there's just the whole, it just becomes obvious that all of the kind of the belief systems, everything that happens in the story of my life, the seeking, all of that kind of thing was just goes. It just kind of, there's a memory of it, of course, but it just the reality of it is just completely disappears, or is revealed as never having really been there.
There's a question here, and I'll get to you, Jade. Mike goes, is it possible for someone to do something nasty to another? Yeah,
it happens all the time. Yeah, again, look at the news. Yeah. There's apparent people doing nasty things to other apparent people all over the place. Yeah. So yes, to simply answer your question, yes, that does seem to appear to happen. Yeah. There's no one in there doing that, of course, but yes, that appears to happen. Yeah.
Jade, go ahead.
Thank you, Emerson. Hi, Neil. What do you think about intuition? Intuition, like the feeling coming or appearing about some people. That might be harmful.
Yeah, apparently that happens. Yeah. There can be a sense, sort of an intuition of things. Yeah, sure.
Is it reliable?
Well, that's what the me wants to know, of course. Can I rely on my intuition? And of course, there's no knowing of that, and there's no way to know that. So in that sense, there is no answer to that. But yeah, you know, there seems to be intuitions. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, weird shit happens apparently.
Yeah, compared to like cause and effect. Sorry. So intuition compared to cause and effect. How to differentiate intuition and cause and effect?
Well, I mean, to answer your question in a practical sense, intuition feels different, doesn't it? For the me, there is the real sense of cause and effect. And that's really to do with what I was talking about earlier, as to have that position as relative to everything else, therefore to be in that real sense of time. And because the me experiences itself as real, it feels that setup is also real. So the sense of a real cause and effect seems to happen when there is that illusion that there is someone who is real as having a position for there to be real time and real cause and effect. And so, but intuition, it sort of feels different to that, wouldn't you say? It just sort of, intuition is just something that just sort of comes up. It's kind of indescribable. I would say in some ways, the sort of the resonance with this communication seems to be much more intuited, I would say. Yeah.
I do feel natural response to protect myself in sorts of situation, although it is still appearing, it's still happening with no reality, but the gut feeling is undeniable. It's something, it's just the ability to protect naturally. Yeah, it just, I get very confused with cause and effect because
but there is
it
no
all
real
has
cause and effect.
consequence.
Yeah, it's just apparent cause and effect.
No.
And there is apparent consequence.
Yeah.
The suggestion is there is no one in there who is choosing to do one thing or another. There is just that apparent happening. And then if there is a sense to be someone, or if there is a me there, let's say, then it will just naturally assume that that's happening because it's there.
Yes,
and
it's
that's what
the
seems to
happening.
create the problem with choice and decisions and that kind of thing. It just becomes really obvious in the end. There's no one doing that. It just apparently happens. Would you like a cup of tea, Neil?
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Apparently that's a choice. There's no one here choosing that. There's no sense to be choosing a cup of tea. However, the cup of tea either happens or it doesn't.
Yeah. I hear you, but I feel I feel odd. Very odd.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of makes sense, but confused at the same time.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
Thank you for your answer, and thank you for your messages. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's my question.
It's not my message, of course, so I would just say to that. There is no message.
One more, Neil. Heidi wants a question, or we're at the end of our time. One more. Okay, Heidi.
Hi, Neil. Hi.
Hi.
Nice to see you. Hi.
Yeah.
So, what goes around in all this listenings to this talkings is many of you is talking about losing this me. I just choose these words now in an age after you had a life like this, and then it broke away or it goes away. And my experience is I think about near death I had when I had 2.5 years. And I never had this idea or this sense or this feeling that there is a me. For me, it's like coming home in a way.
Yeah.
And what is struggling is that sometimes I think too much of us are waiting for something that maybe all of us never had, this arrival of a me. It's just something, I think this contraction comes up with a me. And then to try to get out of this me is then the holding back, or even this is not even a holding back like this. Can you say something about that?
Yeah.
The near death and to lose the me in a very young age, to come into a world. I all the time was there with a big question mark, because I never had the idea that this have to make any sense to someone, not to me and not to someone else.
That can happen after a glimpse. So my sense is, from what you're describing, is that there's no real difference between what you're calling a near-death experience, where maybe the body is dead for a period of time, or there is an apparent death. I don't know anything about it, so I don't know how best to articulate that. But it sounds very similar to what can happen after there is an apparent glimpse as well, which is technically also a kind of a near-death experience in a way, or it could be called that, because that which experiences itself to be living, to be here, suddenly isn't anymore, and that can be quite a shock. What can happen when the sense to be living suddenly goes, oh my God, I don't like this, and sort of comes back and claims that, or it goes, what the hell's going on, and it just sort of seems to automatically come back. It can almost in some way leave a flavor behind of that glimpse of, we could say, the natural reality or death in a way. So what can also come back from that, so there can be reportedly in glimpses a seeing of just sort of unconditional love, and there can be a coming back and going, oh wow, it was all unconditional love, it was amazing. Of course, and there's no one in there to know that in a glimpse. But then what can also happen reportedly is it can be quite terrifying as well in some ways, for some, but only for the person or the me who has apparently come back, because they've had a glimpse of themselves as not being real in a way, sort of. I perhaps didn't put that very eloquently, but in some way it can leave behind both a sense of like a terror in some cases, but also a flavor. But what seems to be quite common with those glimpses is a desire to want to find one's way back to that in some way or other.
Yeah.
And because that glimpse can only be seen through the mind of the person, it just assumes that can be gotten to in some way. And I know here, when I heard this communication, it described what apparently happened here a very long time ago. And it was just, the recognition was just like that. And I'd never heard anyone, and I wasn't consciously aware, so to speak, at the time that I was looking for an answer to what that was. But when I heard it, it was, it just all sort of fell into place in a way. Just purely hearing someone talking about that in the way that it's talked about here, let's say. It just seemed to all, right, okay. I knew that still sort of listening to the message wasn't that. And I kind of sensed the futility of getting back to that, because I wasn't in it, I wasn't there. If there is a glimpse, there is no one there. There is no one to have an experience of that. You can't even describe it to someone in the end. But that is this. And the real shocker is, and perhaps we'll finish on this, the real shocker is all there is that glimpse. This is still that if there's been a glimpse there, that glimpse never started and it never ended. And I would also add to that, that the me doesn't have glimpses. All there is glimpse appearing to have a me. But the me just assumes that it's not glimpse. It's just glimpse taking the form of an apparent me.
That's great. That's the point. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Should we end there, Emerson?
Thank you so much, Heidi. Thank you so much, Neil. Thank you so much, everyone. Neil is going to be having a 2-day event on December 11 and 12. I sent out the link there. You can unmute yourself if you want to say bye. You can also stay for the breakout room. People requested a breakout room or not. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you, Neil.
Thanks,
Neil.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Emerson.
Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
Ciao.
I learned a lot.